Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Off the Cuff here at City Hall. As always, a pretty active month here as we enter the holiday season. First and foremost, I want to discuss the COVID situation a bit. Cases are back on the rise here if you haven't figured that out, and they're rising exponentially. So, a lot of it is a source of community spread. We had a very active Halloween weekend. The following weekend was a nice weekend weather-wise, so I think people were out and active and in groups. So that has led to a 3-week dramatic spike in our COVID cases. And as I've said in the press conference that I had and the subsequent interviews, is avoid going to the retail store. Multiple trips to the big box retail stores just isn't necessary, and it's been a common source of positive cases and exposures, so try to avoid that. Stay out of large gatherings and groups of people. Please wear your mask wherever you go, and wash your hands and use hand sanitizer as much as possible. And if we take those easy steps, we should be able to help bring the data back into a favorable direction. The point I've been using since last week, since this spike started, is to look at it in a couple of different ways. I think people are experiencing COVID fatigue, where they're over the whole pandemic and the rules and that come along with it, and some of the implications the virus has brought on to our community. And I think they're letting their guard down. They're going in groups, they're resistant to the mask, they think that all the restrictions should be removed. And the message is really twofold. I think I've been talking about the economy. I find it interesting that the same people who are so against masks and so against the restrictions and so against capacity limits and no mass gatherings are equally against more lockdowns and shutdowns and restrictions on the economy. And you can't have it both ways right now. You're either going to follow the rules and obey the restrictions and some of the regulations put on by New York State and the federal government, or our data is going to continue to move in the wrong direction. And that'll result in more lockdowns and more shutdowns and more restrictions. So my piece of advice to the people who hate all these so-called rules and restrictions is, I find the rules and restrictions much easier to absorb than shutdowns and lockdowns. So I would go with obeying rules and restrictions to control the data. And if you don't, we'll go back into what they're calling the yellow, orange, and red zones, and that brings more economic restrictions. So pick one and go with it. The second message, which is really along the same lines, but it seems to be effective, is you should want to follow the rules and follow the advice of health experts for your own health in battling against this virus and hopefully not getting the virus to begin with. And if we've heard all the assertions from people, if you're healthy and the virus doesn't concern you as it relates to your health, and the survival rate is 99%, and the masks are stupid, and you're healthy, and if you get it, you probably will be asymptomatic and not feel anything, then that's fine. Well, you can have that attitude. I don't agree with the attitude, but you can have that attitude. It's certainly your right to have that attitude, I guess. So if you don't want to do it for yourself, though, you should think about others, and you should think about the people who live in this community, your neighbors, your friends, your family, who you're around, whether you know it or not, that have immune diseases, that may be elderly, that are more vulnerable than others, and you should want to obey rules and help battle against the virus for their sake, if not for your sake, for their sake, and take them into consideration when you act the way you act and say the things you say. And if you don't want to do it for yourself and your own health, and if you don't want to do it for others and the health of others, particularly those vulnerable to the disease, to the virus, then I would suggest you do it to keep the economy open. And as I said, the people who are all against the rules and restrictions are even more against lockdowns and shutdowns, which if we don't control the data is where we're going. That's not up for the debate whether you agree with it or not. These are the rules put on by state government, and it's what will happen if we don't control our data. You're seeing it happen in Onondaga County, where they've been yellow and they're now labeled orange in some areas. So we don't want that. So if not for you and your own health, then do it for others and the health of others. And if you don't care about anybody, and no, it's not a concern, then at least do it for the economy and to avoid a shutdown, and do it for the small business owners who are entering the busiest season, holiday season, to make their sales and make their money. Do it for them. They've already sacrificed a lot. And do it to avoid a shutdown and more rules and restrictions. That's my advice. And I think that's really all we can say at this point. People know the rules. We're repeating the rules, but people know the rules. They've been in place since March, April. And so it's not a matter of knowing what to do and what not to do. It's a matter of if you're willing to do the right thing for the community. And I wish everyone would just buckle down for the next couple months while we get the vaccine rolling, and do the right thing, control the data, keep everyone safe, and keep our economy open. Speaking of small businesses and the economy, we are trying to put together some holiday events that will support local businesses, encourage people to shop local. I think this year it's more important than ever to make an effort to shop here in Oswego. Number one, the economy could use the influx of holiday spending here locally, and supporting our small business through this tough time is important to make sure they survive the pandemic. But also, shopping locally is the safe thing to do. Stay out of the large shopping malls, stay out of the large retail stores on Route 31, and stop going to Walmart every few days, and come downtown to the small shops where there's a limited amount of people in the shop at any one time. And we found citywide that small business owners are taking the extra measures and implementing the precautions much better than the large retail stores. So the stores here downtown have hand sanitizer, they require the masks, they have one-way aisles and appropriate spacing, whereas Walmart and some others, you walk in and it's somewhat of a free-for-all. So we encourage you to shop local. It's the right thing to do for the economy and for your own health and safety. So we're using some events and created some events to get people downtown, particularly on the weekend of December 4th through the 6th, what we're calling the Home for the Holidays weekend in Oswego. We've worked with a bunch of Oswego businesses to that weekend extend their hours into later in the evening so people can actually get to the business at night. We're calling it the late night shopping experience. And then downtown deals, we've went around to downtown businesses, including restaurants, and asked the businesses to push some discounts or some deals all at the same time so that people going down can expect to see some discounted items as they go shopping downtown. So a bit of a comprehensive strategy there to have late night shopping and downtown deals weekend to encourage people to get downtown. At the same time, on that same weekend, December 4th and 5th, we're having the Santa Slo Roll, where Santa Claus is coming to Oswego. We're meeting him at the East Side Fire Station. He's joining me on the back of a fire truck, and we're going through neighborhoods so the kids can see Santa Claus safely at a distance. We know they won't be able to sit on Santa's lap this year, so we thought this would be parading Santa around town on a fire truck through neighborhoods would be a good alternative. That weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the 5th and 6th, we're having downtown horse-drawn carriage rides. Normally we have that during the Christmas tree lighting, but because that's now a virtual experience, we're having the carriage rides on the weekend of the 5th and 6th. You need to book your ride ahead of time. They're about 15 minutes in length, and we've capped the amount of people at 8 per ride. We encourage people to only do the ride with the folks in their household. I already mentioned the late night shopping and downtown deals. We also have a pop-up shop down at West 1st and Bridge. It used to be the old bank building. We're having a bunch of downtown stores come in with a little area in that one building that's theirs, so you can stop in one location and shop at a bunch of different businesses all in one location and at one time. We're having a local business mega raffle. A bunch of businesses downtown have agreed to take part in this raffle. If you buy selected items at any of these businesses, you're entered into a mega raffle where you'll win a bunch of items from all the different businesses who are participating. We're going to have roaming carolers through downtown that weekend, and even before that weekend, we're having the annual downtown Christmas tree lighting on November 28th. The tree will be lit at 6 o'clock. Normally we have a big crowd downtown for that. We're encouraging people to stay home or stay in their vehicles and watch the Christmas tree lighting on my Facebook page. It'll be live streamed. We've actually put together a TV production where we'll have hosts. Nate Emmons and Amy Murphy from the Economic Development Office are the hosts. We put together some commercials of small businesses, so it'll be like you're watching a real program. We have musical acts, dance company that'll be broadcast live stream, and then it'll end at 5:50 with Santa Claus joining me on stage, counting down the tree, lighting the tree, and then we'll also be live streaming the fireworks from a drone that begins at 6:10. So again, we encourage you to stay home to enjoy the Christmas tree lighting. If you do come downtown to watch the fireworks, similar to what we did on the 4th of July, please stay in your cars or keep distance from other groups of people. You can use the West Linear, East Linear river walks, the Water Street parking lots up and down the river, the old YMCA parking lot, municipal parking lots on East 1st and East 2nd, so there's a lot of opportunity there, plenty of room for spacing. It's always good show over the river. So we look forward to hearing your feedback from that. Also, in the month ahead, I launched the Police Reinvention Collaborative. This is a requirement put forth by New York State, where they're asking every police agency, law enforcement agency in the state to reevaluate themselves and to do a better job policing their communities. You're required to have public input. So I announced the establishment of a committee comprised of a diverse group of people to put together a plan and make some suggestions on what the Oswego community would like to see when it comes to policing. I'm having a public forum right now scheduled in person and also live stream on my Facebook, December 16th, 6 p.m. at the McRobey building, which is where our common council meetings are taking place. The public will be able to speak. I'm going to present some of the new elements to our plan and some of the new initiatives we'll be incorporating into the Oswego Police Department, and we'll get you feedback from there. Where we will, we'll also take suggestions and any input the public have, any ideas that they may want to see implemented with the police department. And then looking at the previous couple weeks here at City Hall, we came to an agreement with Oswego Health on a 10-year, $375,000 service agreement. Oswego Health is a 501c3 not-for-profit, so they're tax exempt. However, they still use city resources. So they were gracious enough and generous enough to want to sit down and talk about what's fair for both parties. So with the help of Mike Backus, the new executive vice president there at Oswego Health, we came to that agreement, which is fair and a big win for city government and the Oswego community. And then lastly, if you haven't been down to Breakback Park and Harbor Trail was reopened last week. We just finished about a $1.7 million project at Harbor Trail. If you remember, that was over an area that was overgrown with brush and trees and wasn't much of a trail at all. Back in 2018, we leveled all of the brush and trees and growth and installed seating areas and made the trail much more appealing, and a lot of people use it. However, the high water and associated flooding was actually undermining the trail, and land was slipping away into the lake. So we secured this funding from FEMA, and we conducted the project this summer. I had to close down the trail back in June, but now if you go back, you'll see that it looks better than it did before. We lined the shoreline with some riprap to protect the land from washing away and protect the trail. We added a whole bunch of nice landscaping, and you'll see that the shoreline is now one straight shore, and you can go out on the rocks and get to the water still. So it really looks nice and makes it's a better view and makes the trail all that more attractive and safe. So a nice project there. So a busy month here with some nice announcements and some achievements, and looking forward to the month ahead. Again, try to be safe over Thanksgiving. Try to avoid gatherings, wear your mask, and support local businesses downtown. It's the right thing to do to support our economy, to support our local business owners, and to stay safe and avoid the larger stores. So thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you next month on what should be another busy December. Thank you.